Hello again, and thank you for joining us on this Gradcracker webinar. It's been a really busy few months here at Gradcracker. We have thousands of opportunities that you can apply for on Gradcracker right now, and we have tens of thousands of students visiting us every day. So don't miss out, go and have a look and apply for that perfect opportunity when you can. So back to the webinar with Centrica. So I would first like to introduce the Gradcracker members of the panel. So my name is Carla, I'm a director at Gradcracker, and I've worked with Centrica for a long time, well over 10 years. Sophie?
Hi everyone, I'm Sophie, also a director at Gradcracker, and my role is really similar to Carla's in that I look after a lot of the employers who advertise on Gradcracker, and I will be helping Carla with the Centrica webinar today.
Perfect, thank you, Sophie. So during the webinar, our aim is to find out a lot more about Centrica. So we will talk about who they are, what they do, and also what opportunities you, our STEM students, can apply for this year on their hub on Gradcracker. We will then speak to the students about what life is like for them, what projects they have worked on, if they're involved in any networking groups, and also what training and development they have received and also their future plans. We will then end the webinar by discussing the recruitment process and giving you an idea about how you can be successful and an overview of what the application process looks like. Now, we've held quite a few webinars now, so if you've missed any, go to the webinars page on Gradcracker where you can watch them, or go and register your interest for further webinars in the future, which we are running for the next few months. Students are always currently submitting their fantastic questions, which we hope to ask during the webinars. So don't miss the opportunity to submit your question before the upcoming webinars. And all of this can be done on the webinar page on Gradcracker. So let's start the webinar with Centrica. And James, I'm coming to you. So James is the Emerging Talent Lead, and we'll be giving you an insight into Centrica and the roles which are currently live on Gradcracker at the moment and the recruitment process. James is going to also give you an idea of what life is like once you start your career at Centrica. And we're also joined by intern Hannah and grad Zara and Hadley, who we'll be speaking to very shortly. So James, tell everybody about Centrica.
Thank you, Carla, and good afternoon to everyone. So who is Centrica? So we are a uniquely integrated energy services and solution company, putting more than 10 million customers and 20,000 colleagues across the globe at the heart of everything we do. So we do this through our business and trusted brands, and these are broken down into three main areas to simplify what we're about, because it is quite a vast organisation that we work in. However, those families that are across our business knit together really well. So how does it work in that respect of simplification of what we're all about? It's broken down into three areas. The first area being infrastructure. So what does that mean? We store energy, power, gas, and we store that in many different ways. In offshore, in platforms in the sea, as well as other ways of storing gas in ships and so on. We also, our other arm, second arm, is our optimization arm. So that is where we are the family of business of Centrica Energy, which trade gas, energy and electricity and all different energy products, and they trade that. Then we have our retail arm, which is more well known. So that's British Gas, that's Hive, if you've heard of Hive, other brands such as Dynarod, PH Jones and Bord Gosh in Ireland. So that is us.
That's a really good explanation there, James. I haven't heard of it with the different arms before, so thank you very much for that. So, James, could you also now give everybody a brief introduction about the roles that you've currently got live on your hub on Gradcracker? So there are many. So there's 14 placements in total, which cover both summer and year in industry, and the graduate opportunities, which there are 12 of. So, James, give us a little bit more detail.
Yes, you're right. It's live now on the Gradcracker hub. So get out there and apply if you're interested, is what I'd say. We do get a lot of interest in our schemes and have for many years. So we have three main things going on there. We have the summer internship, which is a 9-week program over the course of June and August of every year, where we bring in summer interns to our organisation to get a massive flavour of who we are and what we're about, and start to hopefully fall in love with our culture and who we are, and get a real test and learn of all different facets of our organisation, but it is ultimately broken down into all of our different streams. So we have different streams across our organisation that link to everything that we do in the graduate space, and there's 8 different streams normally, and they span all across different parts of our business, from procurement to engineering to our tech and digital part of our business, marketing, and so much more. So you have the summer internships, the 9-week program over the summer. You have our year in industry program, so it's a whole year in industry, doing a real job and making real impact over the course of that year. Normally a sandwich year in your degree. And then you have our graduate schemes, which are, there's 8 different streams there, as I've just mentioned, and they are currently live too, all at the same time. So all those 3 different areas of opportunity are currently live.
Yeah, which is fantastic. That's something that you haven't done before, has it? With you've normally opened your grads early and then your placements a little bit later on, but now everything is open for our STEM students to apply to. And just a question, James, on your internships, placements, are they a stepping stone to your graduate program if a student does well?
Yeah, I should have said that. They certainly are. So our summer internship and our year in industry scheme are ultimately our conversion to graduate scheme.
Yeah.
So in essence, at least 60% of our interns come back onto a graduate scheme, often much higher. And some of the people you're going to meet today are some of those ex-interns as well. So they are really important. They're our pipeline for talent of the future.
I was reading your mind there, James. And thinking about the locations of the roles, so the locations are all on the listings on the Centrica hub on Gradcracker. So make sure you take a look at those. But just a question, James, about the roles: can they be hybrid, or are they set in the specific locations which we've highlighted?
So as a business, we are still what we would call flexible first. So we're slightly different to other organisations that are going back to, I suppose, more set ways of working and set office attendance per se. However, we're a flex first organisation, and that means it's flexible for different people for different roles. In our graduate schemes and internships, it's important that if you're early in your career, that you get the right start and that you're having the right exposure and you're getting out there into the right parts of our organisation. And we really, really encourage you to be based in an office. We encourage you to do that. However, it's a really flexible and quite a hybrid way of working, which I think helps all individuals, wherever you're coming from, to our organisation. But to be clear, if you join one of our schemes, we do try our very best to encourage you to be where that part of that business or your team will be working. So that might mean you work in that and live and breathe out of that office, so to speak, but with a lot of flexibility tagged onto that.
Perfect, lovely. And that kind of leads really nicely on to a question that one of our students has submitted. So Peter from the University of Nottingham, thank you very much, Peter, for submitting your question. So Peter asks, James, what, if any, help is given with relocation?
So the main thing that I think most young people will be interested in is we provide you with a bit of money to support you. So not all organisations do this. We give you £3,000 sign-on bonus when you join our organisation as a graduate. On our year in industry scheme, you also get £2,000 sign-on bonus. That money is there to hopefully help you to relocate. Ultimately, that's what we try and say to you, is use that to relocate and be near to your job and your role and your colleagues and your team that are going to be around you. So we do that from here's some support to do that perspective. But apart from that, obviously we're massively all over the UK. We're also global, but our roles are all in the UK. Wherever you go and wherever you work, we have a lot of support networks and hubs and people that are already there that will set you up and organise that support around you and help you find home, find accommodation. As an example, I've just been talking to one of our graduates that joined us last week this morning. She's moved all the way up to Glasgow from down south, and she's absolutely loving it, to be fair. So and that's because of the support and the help that's around her to make that move, and we really try our best to do that.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much for that, James. Brilliant introduction. And we'll come back to James towards the end of the webinar and to find out a little bit more about the recruitment process and hints and tips, and also that the softer skills that Centrica as a business is offering students when they join Centrica. And so Sophie will now speak to the students who all found their jobs on Gradcracker and watched this webinar last year. So I'm really excited to speak to you a little bit more. And they've got some very different journeys to speak about. So Sophie, it is over to you, my love.
Thank you very much, Carla, and thank you very much, James, for that introduction. So Hannah, I'm going to come over to you first. You are a placement student at Centrica doing a year in industry. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, of course. So hi, everyone. I'm Hannah. I go to the University of Nottingham, and I'm currently studying finance, accounting and management with a placement year. I'm on the year in industry scheme with Centrica, working in the finance team in British Gas Services and Solutions, and I've now been in this role since June, so nearing 4 months now, although it's gone so quickly. I can't believe I'm nearly a third of the way through already. I've really loved my time so far, and I feel like being able to kind of put the concepts that I've learned at university into practice has been really interesting for me.
That's brilliant. And that is such a valuable part of doing a placement, isn't it? Is we're getting that real world experience of, the theory at university is amazing, but actually getting into a role and putting it into practice is a completely different kettle of fish. So you've been there 4 months now. So do you have how many rotations do you have during that year in industry, or are you in just one role for the full year?
So it's kind of, for me, it's like a mini grad scheme. So I've got 3 different roles within my placement year, but they're all kind of in the same team. So my wider team will stay the same, but I'll move around within that to kind of get exposure in different areas of the team, which I think will be really useful to kind of see what I enjoy most and learn different skills in each bit of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And where are you based, Hannah, out of interest? Because I know we've been talking about locations a little bit.
I'm based in the Windsor office, and I live quite near here, so it's ideal for me.
Oh, fantastic. And so are you currently in the first rotation of the scheme?
Yeah, so at the end of this month, I'll move into my second one.
Amazing. And what have you been doing so far? Give us a little bit of a flavour of what your role's involved so far.
So far I've been kind of working with the planning team, who basically go away and plan the forecast for the following however many months or years to kind of see what kind of revenue and costs we'll be getting in those months and years. And they basically give me the forecast, and I go away and have a look at it and kind of question specific rates or volumes based on what we've seen historically. And we kind of work together to shape the forecast.
Wow, so very involved from a very early stage.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Brilliant. I know Carla has got a question from one of our students actually that leads quite nicely on from there, I think, Carla.
Just going to say that it's like you've done this before, Sophie. I've got a question from Simon at Exeter. So again, thank you very much, Simon. Simon is thinking about if he should do a placement. So what do you think, Hannah, are the main benefits of doing a placement, which Simon should listen to and then go and get one?
So I'd say if you're considering doing a placement year, then I'd really recommend it. I think there's so many benefits to kind of gaining that experience, and I'll just run through the main ones that kind of spring to mind. So firstly, I think it gives you the opportunity to gain an understanding of how things kind of operate in a professional environment, and allows you to gain key workplace skills that you'll then use throughout the rest of your career. You'll be able to grow your network and meet a variety of new people, whilst, as I mentioned earlier, kind of applying the things that you've learned during your education and putting these into practice. And I also think it allows you to gain insight into what you might like to do career-wise in the longer term, and will also kind of open the door for employment opportunities in the future. So having that previous professional experience will be really attractive to employers and make you stand out against other applicants.
Yeah, definitely. And from a softer skills point of view, Hannah, what other softer skills do you think you've learned or you've been made to be better at?
I think we're given so many opportunities to develop kind of presentation skills, communication skills. I think I've gained a lot more confidence since joining Centrica, because you're kind of put in there and you kind of have to adjust to it and meet a load of new people. But the way in which kind of the induction week runs and things like that, it makes it a lot easier to kind of meet new people and grow your network, basically.
Develop was the word that I was looking for, so thanks for that, Hannah. I should probably go away and do a placement myself. And as James said at the beginning of the webinar as well, it's that future and projection to possibly becoming a graduate at Centrica as well. So thank you for that, Hannah, and hopefully, Simon, that has answered your questions.
Thank you very much, Carla and Hannah. And I was just thinking of our colleague Jessica, who heads up our university team. Then she would have just been beaming from ear to ear at that answer, Hannah. It's exactly what we always tell the students. So that's perfect.
She's watching, by the way. She's watching.
Yeah, she will be. Brilliant. Hannah, I'm going to come back to you a little bit later on, and we're going to probably touch upon a little bit more about training and, you know, what experiences you've had in the 4 months in so far in a bit more detail. But I just want to jump across to meet the rest of our panel as well. So Hadley, coming over to you, could you introduce yourself to our audience as well, please?
Sure. So yeah, my name is Hadley. I've been at Centrica for just over 2 years now. I'm on the DTS stream, which is Digital Technology Services. So that's all things sort of IT related, software development. So I studied at the University of York. I studied electronic engineering. I did an integrated master's there. And then I came onto the grad scheme in 2022.
Wow. And you have a bit of a different base. I know we've been touching on locations a little bit because you kind of split your time between Belgium and Windsor, don't you? So you do a bit more traveling.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right, Sophie. So, you know, James touched on it earlier. Centrica is not just a sort of a UK-based company. You know, we're based all over the world, all over Europe. And yeah, I've been given an awesome opportunity on the grad scheme to be able to travel a little bit. So head out to Belgium, sort of, you know, when there's things going on in the office out there, or when I need to meet up with the team, we've got team meetings. And yeah, it's been a really sort of given a different dimension to the grad scheme for me. So my first 2 placements were solely based in the UK, and it's this third one which has got the sort of Belgium aspect as well. So yeah, no, that's been really interesting to go there, see different ways of working, meet your people. As already been mentioned, it's a great way to sort of expand your network, and in that it's all about knowing the right people in the right places and that. So yeah, it's been a great opportunity for me.
No, that's amazing. The ability to kind of travel that early on in your career is really great. And following this placement, do you have another placement? Is it a 2-year program? Can you just explain a little bit more about that?
Sure. So the grad scheme essentially works. It's 2 years for DTS. And within those 2 years, you have 3 8-month placements. And it's a really great way to move around the business and learn about how different parts of the business operate. As James mentioned, you know, there's 3 different arms. We've got infrastructure, optimization, the more retail part. So I've tried to take a placement in each one of those. And it's been really interesting to see how, okay, we're still selling energy, but how you sell to business or how you sell to residential customers massively changes, and the sort of infrastructure that changes, whether you're selling to a customer in a house or a massive business offshore. So that's been a really, really fascinating part to move around the business, learn how different parts operate, but ultimately each part of the business is supporting the other part. So yeah, no, that's how the schemes work for me. I know different grad schemes or different streams within Centrica, should I say, are slightly longer. I know finance is 3 years, but yeah, but the DTS and the majority of them are 2 years long.
That's great. That was going to be one of my next questions. Are they all the same length? So that's great. Okay, and explain to me a little bit more about digital technology services, because it sounds like you've been involved in quite a lot, not just technology, but you know, quite a lot of commercial type projects and involvement in your role so far. So can you explain to me a little bit about what you do on the DTS grad scheme?
Sure. So I'll sort of run through my placements to sort of give you a bit of an overview. I guess I started it in Hive, so that's our sort of in-home smart tech brand. So I started in there, writing code, so sort of head down in the code, like developing new features, new bug fixes, updates, that sort of thing, to try and enhance the sort of customer in-home experience. So that was very much the product team would give us a sort of requirements, and then we would be very much sort of, how do we do this from a technical perspective? And then I moved into a different part of business, which is called Centrica Business Solutions. So this is looking at how we can support businesses that have large energy generation facilities on site. We looked at ways to try and optimize their assets and for them to view the assets in real time. So this sort of meant we were meeting with customers more, trying to understand how they use their assets, trying to get a bit more of an insight into, you know, what would be useful for them, what's not such a priority. So for that role, I was more talking with people internal and external in the business, trying to build requirements, and then we went back as a team and built them. And my sort of final role is in an optimization role. So we're looking at how we can optimize electric vehicle charging. So again, I have sort of a little bit of an input from a product team and from sort of business perspective. You know, we would like to be able to do this. How can we go about doing it? Is it possible? So we go away, we sort of make up some sort of mock-ups, some sort of tests. We see if it's feasible. So is it cost effective, that sort of thing. And then we go back to the business and say, you know, we can do it. It's going to be really expensive, but if we do it like this, it's much cheaper, and, you know, we can get more customers on quicker. So there's not just sort of head down, do this. It's very much, you know, thinking outside the box. How can we sort of make the best experience for customer and also make it worthwhile for Centrica?
No, that's brilliant. I think it sounds like a really nice balance between that, real technical coding work, actually building products, doing the code and things like that, and then also having that face-to-face time with customers, getting, that external point of view as well, which it sounds like a really interesting experience to have. Because I think often when you see a technology scheme advertised, or something that says software engineering, you do kind of think, okay, that's going to be me. I'm going to be coding. That's all I'm going to be doing. But very much so, you've had loads of different experiences so far. So that's a really good overview of the scheme. So thank you for that, Hadley. I will be coming back to you a little bit later on to find out about what happens next for you. But I'm going to shoot over to talk to Zara a little bit now. Could you introduce yourself to the audience today, please, Zara?
Yep, sure. So, hi everyone, I'm Zara. I'm in the same boat as Hadley. I'm also in the DTS Software Engineering grad scheme. I went to university, the Royal Holloway University, where I studied computer science. I was also a year in industry in Centrica. So my degree was computer science with a year in industry. So I split that, and I came to Centrica for a year, and then I came back as a grad, and I really enjoyed it so far. So that's me.
Amazing. Thank you, Zara. So yeah, I was going to touch upon the fact that you'd done your placement. So can you tell me a little bit about what you did on your placement year?
Yeah, sure. I worked within Centrica's group function as a data scientist, which was really interesting because back then it wasn't as emerging as it is now. So I got that exposure to AI before, ChatGPT and things like that. So I was able to understand it a lot better. And also, obviously, it helped with a lot of coursework and things like that. But as a data scientist, I was continuously making machine learning models. I was really getting all the technical exposure to that, but I was also talking to our stakeholders and at such a young age. So it was really great. And I even had an opportunity to lead my own project to do with electrical charging as well, a little bit similar to Hadley. But yeah, that was my year in industry, which went by so quickly.
I bet. And you mentioned something, during that answer there about utilising the skills that you'd got during your year in industry when you got back to university in that final year. So can you kind of explain to everybody? I know Hannah gave a really kind of great overview about, how she can see that is going to happen, but you've been through it. So can you explain to the audience, what impact do you think doing that year in industry had on your final year of university?
It just made it a whole lot easier. I was already exposed to so I had a module called Introduction to Machine Learning, and I had already done that, and I had gone way past Introduction. So that whole module was probably my easiest module then. But also just touching on the softer skills as well. I wasn't the best presenter, and Centrica gave me a lot of opportunities to present all the time. So I eventually got used to it. And for I think towards the end, for my dissertation or my project, I had to present it. And that was a piece of cake because I'd already had the practice in Centrica. So just gaining that confidence and then also gaining that technical knowledge. And it made exams much easier because I understood everything. When you're taught it, it's different to them putting it into practice. Whereas I put it into practice first and then I got taught it, and then that's how I was able to achieve a good grade at the end. So I'm very thankful for that.
No, that's brilliant. And again, it's something that we talk about all the time when Jessica's talking to the universities and doing her presentations. You cannot underestimate the value of doing year in industry, on how that can improve your academic studies as well when you return to university. So that's just a perfect example of that, Zara. And you would never ever know that you were nervous about presenting because you've obviously got through that. And, okay, so we talked about how it affected your academic work, but also you've come back to Centrica as a graduate. So can you tell us how that process worked from doing your placement, and then when did you find out that they wanted you back as a grad, and what did you have to go through to be able to achieve that?
Well, I think it's very simple at Centrica. If you perform well throughout the year, if you genuinely enjoy what you're doing and you're performing, it's coming back, I don't think is much of an issue. We just had 10-minute presentations with 5 minutes Q&As at 6 months into our year in industry, and then also at the end. And then as long as with the rest of the business, we were very much integrated in that, in the sense that we had objectives and review sessions constantly. So after the 12 months, with our presentation in mind and with our reviews from our managers and our teammates, they then decide on whether they want to take you on or not. And as I said before, it's very simple. If you perform well, and if you integrate quite well, you know, it will be a piece of cake. But I got told, I would say, I think, so I ended in July, and I probably got told in September, after the summer interns had finished there, so they could get their numbers up and see how many of us they were willing to take on, and the summer internships included. So only, I think, a 2-ish months gap where I was stressing.
But then you got the good
that
news.
smaller. Yeah.
And then you went back to university with a graduate role secured, which must have felt amazing.
Absolutely. I was so happy that I didn't have to go through all those interviews at the end. Like during my third year, I could just focus on work, which was the best thing.
Amazing. And again, this is something that, you know, is a real benefit of going into that final year. Knowing that you've got that job secured means that you can focus on your academic studies. So yeah, that's brilliant. And now I know during your time, you know, between finishing your placement and coming back as a graduate, you kept in touch with Centrica, didn't you, over your final year? So what sort of things did you do during that kind of final year to keep in touch?
Well, as a year in industry, I don't think you, especially those that come back as a grad, like, you never really lose in touch with Centrica. So I mean, during my placement year, I not only gained experience, but I also gained friends. So my manager became a very good friend of mine. I had monthly catch-ups with him throughout the year. And, you know, also a part of the early careers process, we are also invited to the Centrica barbecue. And as new grads, we had very fun activities to do, as more than just eating barbecue. Like, it was really good. We had a networking process where we would talk to people. We had like this task where we had to find 3 fun facts about people. So it really got us integrated quite well at an early stage. So yeah, I don't think I ever really lost touch, and I never really wanted to either.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. I can imagine that's something that, you know, if you're thinking about, you know, doing the year industry and then going back as a grad, you know, what happens during that period can be a bit uncertain, but you just answered it. You know, you keep in touch, you've got that kind of community around you, that network of people that you did your year in industry with that may well be going back as grads as well. So that's fab. So now you are on the same graduate program as Hadley, so you are a DTS grad. Tell me a little bit more about your role so far.
Yeah, of course. So now that I've come back, I'm a full stack software engineer within our trading department that James mentioned just earlier on. And we work on a system that takes care of our PPAs, so our power purchasing agreements within Centrica, which is quite interesting. But also half of my team is based in Denmark, so we have lots of opportunities to travel there. My first placement actually was split in between the two. So I spent 2 weeks in Denmark, 2 weeks back home. And it was really interesting. So that's sort of a glimpse of what I've done so far.
Amazing. Thank you, Zara. So again, lots of travel here. Brilliant. So I'm going to come back to Hannah now just to find out a little bit more about your experiences so far. So you've kind of given us a brief overview about, you know, what your roles involved, but it'd be great if you could give us a bit of an introduction into, you know, how you kind of settled into Centrica. What sort of things have you kind of training, all that sort of stuff that you've been on since you joined, Hannah?
So I'd say settling in has been a lot easier than I was expecting it to be. I was quite nervous at the start. It's quite daunting coming into kind of a new situation that you've never been in before, but everyone is so like lovely and so welcoming and so happy to help you with anything that you'll need. Like, they will find time to help you. And in terms of kind of training that I've had, I did a 5-day finance systems training with the new grads that have just joined this year, which I found really helpful. I'm sure I'll take a lot of those skills and use them in my role and in my future and stuff. And I've also had various Excel training courses as well, which I definitely use daily. So that's very helpful as well.
So the systems that you're working on, were they completely brand new to you, or had you had any experience of them before when you were at university or anything?
No, completely brand new.
Wow.
Yeah.
So new job, new systems, learning everything completely from scratch.
Knew everything. Yeah.
And do you have are there other year in industries in your team as well, or are you the only one in the team?
I'm the only one in the team at the moment, but we had 2 summer interns in the same team during the summer, and now a first year grad has just joined as well. So you don't feel like you're the only new starter. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit more about, the work that you've been doing. I know you kind of gave us a brief overview, but is there kind of one key project that you can give us a little bit more detail on about, what you might have actually been doing?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, working with kind of the planning team for the financial forecast, and within this, like my main project has been to build a Power BI report, and Power BI is a Microsoft software. It's just a bit like Excel, but I'd personally never heard of it, never used it before I came to Centrica, and I've basically been building that in order to allow kind of easier analysis of the forecast. So then I can basically take the numbers that I get from planning, run them through this report, and then it kind of generates various graphs and tables and tells me how far off these forecasts are from historic averages and what we've seen previously, which then allows me to work out basically what needs to be altered. And I've found that building this report kind of speeds up the whole process of working out what needs to be changed. And I think my team will definitely use it in the future, which makes me feel like I've kind of made an impact with what I've been doing. So
yeah, really contributed so far.
Yeah.
Power BI is actually something that we've heard on a few webinars, isn't it, Carla? Would you say it would be beneficial to graduates and students, looking to apply to Centrica to have some prior knowledge of that? I know obviously you've got a lot of training, but would you say that's is something to have a look into?
Yeah, I think it would definitely be useful to have a look at some videos just for kind of a bit of an introduction. I found that personally I used LinkedIn Learning, which Centrica allows us to access, and watched various courses and various videos that then help you with kind of the basics. And then it happened that there were loads of people in my team that kind of had the expertise, and then they could really help me to make the report what it is. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. So there's an insight. Power BI. Go on, James. Sorry.
I was going to add a little bit to that. To be honest, it's an interesting point around new technologies and new things to learn and so on, isn't it? And Hannah's completely right. We provide a huge amount of training, and we have a thing called My Learning Campus that everyone has access to. But we have specific learning journeys for all our interns and graduates as well. But when it comes to being ahead of the game, if you want to come and work for our organisation, I think it's probably shifted in the last 6 to even 12 months, the kind of technology need and movement and where everything's going. So I would suggest, doing a bit of homework, even looking on YouTube, doing some Google searching on Power BI, on Adobe Analytics, on AI, Sen AI, Gen AI, Chat GTP, all these new technologies, because actually it's not because we're going to test you on it. It's actually, if you know about it, you can help fix it and do stuff in our business, because that's what we're missing. We're missing people that can come in and be curious and actually have a bit of a new mindset on that stuff, that young mindset that we need. So I'd say more than ever, actually, and even in the last 6 to 12 months, I think that shift's happening because our business is starting to really embrace AI and so on. Is to do more homework on it and have a little bit of a read up on it, and come with a few, I suppose, interesting anecdotes when you're going through the application process that would, I think, put you in a little bit of a step ahead.
Yeah.
Can I ask James a question, so before you jump on, Maluk? So,
yeah, sure.
James, you've mentioned the AI quite a lot. So there'll be students watching, putting their applications together. We're going to go into this in a little bit more detail, but whilst we're on the AI subject, what do you have any thoughts as an organisation, as Centrica, about if you would like students to use AI when they're putting their application together and or through the application process?
I think it's one of those, when it first came out and it first started happening, being honest, we were all a bit scared, especially someone like me who's a little bit more mature. So like, what is this? And is it something we need to be worried about and kind of abolish? Actually, no, I don't think it is. We've got to embrace it and we've got to make it work. So I think it's important that there's still a balance to be had. And if I'm honest, we as an organisation, I've been open there, we're still learning about it. Although the likes of Hannah, Hadley and Zara will know tons more than me. I'd say, no, we're not trying to say don't use it. We're not saying to stay away from it completely. Appreciate the value in it, what it brings. And weirdly enough, we're testing a tool in my function, HR, the people function at the moment, Sen AI, where we're trying to use it to actually make our lives easier when we're writing articles, reports, when we're trying to find information in our business. We're using it as a test system at the moment. So there's tons of value in it. So if you do it in the right way and do it authentically, and you, of course, you're doing it because you're doing it for the right reason, then of course you should use it. But I'll go through the application process and assessment centers in a bit, because we are changing it this year anyway. It isn't all online so much. So there's an element of, when you're doing that side of things, course use technology. When you come and see us face to face, we kind of can't. We want to get to know us as a person.
Exactly. But you're going to get found out because they're going to see you face to face. So if you do say something,
unless you're a woman with an iPad in front of you or something,
I'll speak as a find. You're going to get caught. So just be careful, be wary when you are using AI during the application process. But yeah, good point. Sorry, Seth, jumping. I just thought it was an
that's great. I think we've got some really good insider tips there that, you know, of what candidates can be doing a little bit extra kind of during that application and research. That's been really useful. Hadley, I'm going to.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, just one of the things we're talking about training. As we said about training and that sort of thing. So Centrica, as James mentioned, is a huge organisation. There's over 20,000 employees here. You know, a FTSE 100 company, and that means we have great relationships with other companies, other FTSE 100 companies, international companies. So one that we use a lot in the DTS function is AWS. That's Amazon's Web Services division, and Centrica's Upload, one of the largest consumers of this service in the UK. So they're always around the office wanting to teach new things, answer questions, and that sort of thing. So jump on them. Like, I'm always asking them about this, about that. They you know, the grads that started really recently here at Centrica, they're actually on a sort of week-long intensive AWS training course to get them up to scratch, to sort of you know, give them the basic foundational knowledge. So just because you know, it's a huge organization means that it has great contacts and the ability to sort of leverage information and that from other people, which is absolutely awesome. You know, not just AWS, I just sort of tried to make a note of some of the other trainings we've been through. So Microsoft Azure, they're always around. We've got a big Microsoft company here, Datadog for sort of understanding data and diving into data a bit deeper. And not only sort of technology, but also energy sort of focused things. I know that the grads and the year in industry students this year, they had an energy industry sort of fundamentals module of their induction week, which is really interesting. I think it's one they've started. It's a new part of the induction. I'm sure James will touch on, but I actually went along and had a listen, and you know, some of the stuff there. Been working here for 2 years. I still didn't even know about the energy industry, but it was really interesting to hear that people are just starting the business, gaining this knowledge in you straight away. So yeah, it's always loads of stuff to learn for sure.
Don't think that's brilliant. Here anymore. You don't need me here.
We do, James. I need your love to stay.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you for that, Hadley. It's always good. I know our students are always really interested in, you know, those kind of extra things they can be learning, you know, when they join an organisation. You know, what training are they going to get, you know, if there's other qualifications and things like that. So it's great to kind of get that overview from you all about, you know, there's the various things, and I'm sure there's many other things as well. But Hadley, I wanted to return back to you because we talked about your experiences on the grad scheme, but you're in your last placement now on the grad scheme. So what happens after this point? So when you finish the grad scheme, what happens next for you?
Sure. So you finish your 2 years on the grad scheme, and then you're looking into the business to try and find a substantive role. So this is something that you know want to roll off of the grad scheme into permanently. And you know, we've mentioned and we sort of touched on coming into the office and networking and building up that sort of rapport with people. And it's now that I'm able to lean on those people, if you know what I mean. It sort of sounds like you're using the people, but it's really about knowing people in the right sort of part of the business that you might be interested in. And if you haven't been coming in and you haven't sort of been building that network, it's much harder to find those positions. don't get me wrong, James's team, the emerging talent team and the HR team here are great at sort of helping signpost you. We've got an internal jobs board and people are always putting stuff on there. So there is guidance, there is that, but it's really sort of, I found it beneficial to have made those connections throughout your time, and being present in the office is a great way to make them. So yep, so I sort of found a role that I'm interested in. It was the team that I did my last placement in. It's something that's really sort of interested in. And then I just sort of said to my manager, you know, what's the sort of feasibility of rolling off into this team? Is there a job available? And so yeah, we're in sort of conversation now to work out exactly where I'll sit within the team, and you know what my responsibilities will be, and that sort of thing. So it's a really exciting time, the end of the grad scheme, not so feared, and you know, you can seek out an opportunity that may not necessarily exist. So yeah, really exciting.
No, that's great. And it's great to see how much kind of feedback you can kind of put into where you go next as well. It's not like, okay, here's a defined role, that's where you're going next. You can kind of say, right, this is the area of the business that I've enjoyed most so far, because you've got that experience on the grad scheme. And then, yeah, you can kind of plan your future from there. So that sounds really exciting, Hadley. Thank you. Before I hand back to Carla, just to kind of finish off the recruitment with the recruitment process and everything, Zara, I just want to come back to you just to kind of hear about any other things that you would highlight about working at Centrica in terms of other activities, social side of things, if you can give us kind of a bit of an overview of that type of thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I mean, we have loads of things that are happening in Centrica every week. There's always some sort of event or someone speaking, someone coming back to us. But I did highlight one of the biggest events of the year, which was the barbecue. Windsor's absolutely chock-a-blocked during that space. Everyone loves to go there, and it's such a great opportunity to see the other parts of the business. You know, I never really see anyone. I work in London, so I'm really just in my sector, which is Centrica Energy. So this was quite nice to, you know, be able to see people who work in Hive, be able to see people who work in British Gas, and Group, and you know, see the other grads as well. So that's a really big event that we pride ourselves on. But also we've got lots of Christmas parties that are going on. Well, they haven't started yet, but I've heard the planning has.
I was going to say it's a bit early.
Yeah. I'm only saying that because Hadley actually is a part of I believe the Early Careers Committee. So I believe he's in charge of our Christmas party. So I thought I'd just touch on that.
Pressure, Hadley, pressure.
Yeah, I can sort of expand on that if you want. So yeah, so it's something that's sort of set up just over a year ago now, was what we're calling Emerging Talent Social Committee. So it's just a way to bring in sort of those extra things that we're talking about. So, you know, things away from your role. Something that we sort of set up is sort of every other week, bi-weekly, we have a hub here in Windsor. So people from all different grad schemes, all different you're in industry streams, different summer placements, we all get together, sort of carry on with your day-to-day work. You know, there's nothing sort of set for that day, but it's just a nice space to be in. You're all in the same place, have a bit of a chat, catch up, share what you've learned, that sort of thing. And then we sort of built on that. We hosted a knowledge sharing day in January to sort of, again, share what we've learned across streams, across different parts of the business, and different bits like that. So they're sort of not necessarily things you do in your role, but additional sort of opportunities that we've put in place. We had a trip up to Leicester to see our sort of national distribution centre, all the parts to fix boilers are. We went to a training academy where all our British Gas engineers go through to gain all the qualifications they need to work with gas, to work with boilers and all those different regulations. So yeah, that's been a great opportunity for me away from my role. You know, I've taken on some responsibility. I've met a lot more people. I've had opportunities to present, as we were speaking about earlier. Yeah, and again, grow my network and sort of got in touch with people that I wouldn't necessarily have got in touch with.
Brilliant. Thank you, Hadley. So lots of things going on all of the time from the sounds of things, keeps you very busy. But I do think this is an important thing to touch upon, because I know it can be quite a daunting experience, either joining as a year in industry or a graduate in a brand new company and potentially a new location. So to know that kind of support network is always really important for our audience to hear. So thank you so much for giving us such a brilliant overview to your role so far. I'm going to hand back to Carla to talk about how they get that job.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Steph, and thanks everybody. So James, over to you. So we mentioned at the beginning of the webinar that all of the opportunities are currently on the Centrica hub on Gradcracker. So go through the application process when a student clicks apply, please.
No problem, of course. So yep, go onto the Gradcracker hub, and you'll see that all our positions are currently live. I mentioned earlier that they're live. They are live at the minute. We try and keep those positions open till at least a full month, so the end of October. However, the applications, we are getting an influx, so I would suggest you apply as soon as you can. So what does that process look like? You need to submit a good CV that's really tailored to the role, so make sure you get that right. And then what happens once you've done that is you'll go through an application process online. So that application process contains a number of different things. That includes verbal and numerical tests and a short personality questionnaire. So we get to know you and get a bit of a measure of where you're at. If you're successful after this part of the process, you'll then receive a screening call. So as part of that screening process, we want to really understand your passion for working at Centrica. So that's what will happen at that point. You'll get to meet someone from our organisation, and we'll screen you and go through that conversation with you and see if you've got that passion for our organisation and who we are in the energy industry. If you're successful after that stage, you'll be invited to the assessment centre. That's a half day. And the way they are going to be run this year, I mentioned it slightly earlier, is our graduate roles and our year in industry roles. They're going to be held at our Windsor office. So there's a hybrid element this year to the way we're doing it. You have that first stage, which is online, and then you'll come into the actual assessment centres in Windsor, which we're really excited to welcome people into. But our summer interns will continue to be an online assessment centre. So the graduate roles in the year in industry assessment centres are going to run between November to December of this year, and then the summer intern assessment centres online will run between February and March.
Perfect. So really quick turnaround. And like James mentioned, make sure we've got a preliminary closing date of the 31st of October on the roles on Gradcracker. But like James said, we will be closing those opportunities as soon as they've got as many applications as they would like. James, you mentioned CV. Give us a little bit more. So tailor your CV to the opportunity, and that's advertised on Gradcracker. Any hints and tips behind the scenes that you can give us?
Yeah, so I touched on it a bit before, but I'll talk about a few other sort of tips as well, really.
Yeah.
So we really are looking for passion. We're really looking for you to bring the energy. I know it sounds like a bit of a sort of pun, but we really are. We need our talent to come in and bring that energy. So it's really important you can put that across in your CV and any cover letters or anything that you're trying to come and communicate to us with, and be really authentic in that passion for our industry and our organisation. We're looking for authentic people that actually want to be part of something that is going to take our country, if not part of the globe, to net zero. So try and pull that out somehow. Make sure you really emphasize and show what you're studying and how that links to the job you're applying for as well, as much as you possibly can. So you heard a bit around Zara and Hannah talking about what they got from being on the internship and taken away back to uni and what's been so valuable for them. Talk about that, as well as, specifically what are you learning and what can you bring to the organisation in that job role. Another thing we're doing slightly differently, because with all of that in mind this year, another thing we're doing slightly differently is we appreciate a lot of the skills of these young people in uni are different. We appreciate it's a hard decision to make. So there is a slight tweak to our application process now that you can apply for multiple streams at the click of a sort of finger on the application. So bear that in mind, that yes, you need to be specific, but also if you do think you've got that wide skill set, don't be afraid to show that as well and apply for more than one stream, because we appreciate it's not an easy decision to make.
Yeah, especially with so many brilliant schemes that you can apply for. And I do feel as part of these webinars, we do talk about placements and internships a lot. And, some students might not have had the opportunity to actually do a placement internship. And that's perfectly fine as well, James, isn't it? The students, like you've just mentioned, can mention about the modules that they've done at university as part of their CV and application. Voluntary work, being part of a society, this all counts, doesn't it, as experience?
Massively, yeah. I mean, I touched on a little bit before about some of those applications like Adobe Analytics, Power BI and all that. It's that stuff, as well as you as a person. What have you done to grow? I'm very passionate about our graduate and internship schemes being a feeder for longer term future of future leaders. We want leaders. We want people to come in our organisation to help us as a growing workforce and a legacy workforce, so an aging workforce, to come in and pull up trees. There's opportunities in our organisations to do that. So it's being aware of that. Do your research, find out about what we're about, look up our new purpose, energising a greener, fairer future. What does that really mean to you? But what does it look like on paper in our organisation? And what can you bring to that? But also be as detailed as you can on where you see yourself in the future and how Centrica can take you on that journey, because we honestly can. So we're looking for that kind of that passion, but drive, and a bit of enthusiasm for your future and how we can bring that out of you.
Yeah, definitely. And all of that information is on the Centrica Hub on Gradcracker. I know Jill and Claire and their team, so shout out Jill and Claire, I know you're watching, and they've recently been working really, really hard with the customer relations team here at Gradcracker to bring the Centrica Hub as up to date as possible. So all of the information is there for you in one place, so you can do your research and there are absolutely no excuses. So James, just referring back to the people on the panel, you know these guys, you've worked with them. Why do you think, without giving too much away, why do you think these three were and are so successful at Centrica?
I must say I'm very proud of them today. They've done extremely well.
You can tell.
I am really proud. They've done very well. So thank you to all three of you. Done really well. So can you just rephrase that question again? So why
do you think these guys have been so successful?
Why so successful? I think at the end of the day that why they've been successful. And again, we're not trying to be egotistical here. We've been running emerging talent schemes for many, many years. Our chief people officer was a grad.
Yeah.
So we've got a fantastic base for people to thrive. And I'm really passionate about that we create an environment for these people to come in and really understand our organisation, hopefully fall in love with who we are as an organisation, feel belonged, but have so many opportunities for exposure and growth along that way. So as they touched on a lot of them already today, there are many arms to our organisations and many ways you can grow. One thing that we do in our schemes is we create a scheme that is facilitated through our business. So my role is to go out to our organisation, to our leaders in our business and say, what do you need for future talent? What does it look like that falls in line with our vision, our purpose, our strategy? I help build that out as a scheme. So we create this scheme with our business need and organisation need in mind. And with that, I think it creates such a strong platform that it really allows these young people to grow and develop. Something our CEO always says is come in and show positive dissatisfaction. So as I touched on earlier, we don't want people to come in and just plod along and just get involved. We want people to come in and don't be afraid to tell us how we can do things better. We're an aging workforce, as I said, we're a legacy organisation. Come in and make changes. Tell us how we can do things better. Ask why 5 times. That's what Chris O'Shea always says.
That's like Sophie. Sophie's like, why is the sky blue? Why is it? So you are. You're still like that.
I am still like that, to be fair.
I know. So thanks very much for that, James. And just quickly, I'm going to come back to Zara and Hadley. So you've gone through the application process as grads, interns, and you've been massively successful, as have you, Hannah. But Hadley, I'm going to come to you. How did you put your initial application together? What hints and tips can you give somebody who's actually been through the process?
Sure. I think you've got to remember, you've got to think about who's reading your CV and the fact that they're going to screen hundreds of CVs at the same time. So my sort of thought process when I was putting it together was let's get numbers and facts and figures in there and make it really sort of punchy. So, let's say you've been involved with a committee or a society at university, and you could say, I was the treasurer of the cycling club. Oh, that's great. But let's put some numbers in. I managed a budget of £5,000 in this. If you want to do a finance role, make it sound a bit more sort of like give some facts and figures. Maybe certified, AWS training, or I've done this Excel course, or I've done, LinkedIn Learning level 1, or whatever it is. Put facts in there. Try and make it as factual as possible. That's something I think is really important, especially for sort of more of a STEM based CV. And then James sort of mentioned as well, sort of cover letters. I would say sort of, keep it to a page is what I was thinking. You've got people reading, if it's sort of 5 pages long, people get halfway through and start to sort of wander off. Keeping that, talk a bit about yourself, what you've done, personally, what your interests are, what you do outside of work. Then talk about, the company, Centrica, what is it that you think is appealing to working for them. So look at our mission statement, look at our goals, our achievements, our values. And try and weave them in there and sort of think about why that resonates with you. And then I think what you can give to the role. So you've achieved this in my module, I got 80% or 75% in this module. This shows sort of strong skills here. Try and give reasoning for everything and back it up with facts, is what I would say.
Yeah, perfect. I think Hannah's nodding away, so obviously that's something that Hannah did as part of her application as well, mentioned like the facts and figures behind the points that Hannah made. So thank you very much for that, Hadley. I'm going to come back to you, James. So you've mentioned, being proud of the students here on the call, but you're also proud of what you've been doing internally at Centrica, haven't you, about the whole training and development aspect. So you did mention before about the My Learning campus, but you also want to touch on the things about the back to basics training that you, as a HR team, are offering. So tell us a little bit more about that.
So we do a lot of work, and we've relaunched a number of things to reset sort of expectations, behaviours, and the training that we offer in the organisation. So My Learning Campus is a massive tool we use, which links to LinkedIn Learning and all other applications. Hadley's touched on different organisations we use as vendors, sort of providers of training. So each scheme is kind of bespoke. There's bespokeness to the training and the learning you deliver because you need it for that acumen or role. But there's also stuff that is broader brush that gives you great skills and learning that goes across the piece. So the kind of things we offer, they do vary, but it starts with an immense induction. We do minimum 3 days up to 5 days induction. We flex it each year depending on what we want to do. But there's an immense induction, and that induction is really about you just getting fully sort of involved and versed in our organisation, learning about energy fundamentals, learning about the energy market, what it really is and what it really means, what our company really means as a family of businesses, as well as getting to meet the most influential and inspirational people in our organisation, hopefully set you up for that best start, and we tool you up as well as we can for that first job in role. The schemes are all rotational, so that means you get massive exposure at each rotation with all sorts of different individuals, but also different skill sets and things to learn. And they're not just there's a role, throw you at it. It's very well thought out. We really consider how these rotations and placements will work to ensure that we're building out a person that is fit for our business, but also gets the most out of the scheme as they can. There's lots of training we do that is, like I say, more that broader training that we spread across. It's not broad, it's very well created, if I'm honest, and tailored. We do a thing called Discovery Insights. So it's working out what colour you are and who you are and as a person and how you best thrive in your role. We do Presented with Impact. We talk about presenting. We do a tailored program on how to present well in our business, but on a wider scale. There's a number of recognised qualifications embedded in all our schemes. All our graduates go on a residential, so 4-day residential over 2 years. That's two days over two days a year, where they do leadership training and followership training. So to be honest, we put an immense amount into the training for our graduates and interns.
And that definitely something that comes across in all the webinars that me and Soph and Jess have done with you previously. So thank you very much for that, James. And now we're going to finish off with another question from one of our students. So Chantel at the University of Edinburgh has asked, this is a lovely question, what is your favourite thing about Centrica? And Hannah, I'm going to come to you. Favourite thing, please.
It would probably have to be kind of the workplace culture and the sense of community. So every single person I've met has been so lovely and welcoming and supportive, and it's made me really feel comfortable coming into a brand new environment, and everyone's willing to help, as I said. And I also think the fact that Centrica really wants to give back to the community and give back to society. So I know that everyone in the business gets 2 volunteering days a year where they get to go out to any kind of charity, things like that, and volunteer for the day, which I think is a really lovely thing.
Perfect. Thanks, Hannah. Zara, what would you say?
Say we're given purpose-driven work, and knowing that I'm actually contributing to something rather than just staying on the sidelines. They need us, they need this fresh perspective, and we need their experience. And I think it's a beautiful relationship that you can make out of it. So just knowing that at the end of the day, I've contributed to something, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, definitely. So you should be. And I think that's what Jim's always got across as well. You are contributing. You do mean something from day one. And James and the team in Centrica, want your ideas. They want you, our STEM students, to apply to their opportunities. And Hadley.
Yeah, I'm going to just build on what's been said. I think that we, I've mentioned it earlier, but Centrica is a FTSE 100 company. You've got energy experts, you've got leaders in the energy field, in utilities, in technology here. Go and ask some questions. You build your network, learn about something you don't know about. Ask a why 5 times, as James has mentioned. And I think the fact that I feel safe to do that, I'm encouraged to do that, and I'm actively seeking out those people that know about the topic I want to learn. But I think that's a great thing with Centrica. Yeah, the people and the culture is definitely what I enjoy about working here.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Hadley. And Chantel, I hope that's enthused you to go and get your application into James and his team. So thank you very much. And thank you everybody who has joined us today from Centrica and the audience, and as obviously you, sir. Thanks for coming with me again, love. And don't forget, the Centrica roles are currently live on the hub on Gradcracker. Like James mentioned, get your applications in. They might be closing early. There's something for everyone, whether it's a summer placement, year-long placement, and your graduate opportunities as well, open to all disciplines, lots and lots of different locations. And again, like James mentioned, you can apply to more than one. So do your research, take away all the hints and tips that everybody's mentioned today, and fingers crossed this time next year you'll be on one of our webinars and you'll be telling us all about your stories and experiences so far. This webinar will be live on Gradcracker tomorrow, so if you wanted to go and re-watch bits, it'll be there on the Centrica hub, and we'll also break the webinar down into bite-sized bits as well. I don't envy Morgan who's going to do that job, because there is so much that's come out of this webinar. It's been absolutely fantastic. So good luck, Morgs. Again, future webinars, me and Sophie are speaking to Caterpillar next Thursday, the 17th of October at 2 p.m. But for now, good luck with getting your applications into Centrica, and we'll see you all next week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.